For Accelerate Sports Ventures, I'm Kevin Devaney Jr. I'm joined today by Patrick Johnson, CEO and founder of Vantage Sports. Patrick, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us about Vantage Sports, how things started, and how you connect the college athlete with the youth.
Kevin, thanks for having me on the show. Super excited to be here. Vantage Sports, I mean, we set out to use NIL to connect college athletes with youth athletes in their community who want to get private coaching and mentoring. So, taking a very localized, community-driven approach by, connecting an athlete in their college town to a local youth athlete who lives in the area. So we're working and partnering with the local Pop Warner teams and youth soccer programs and sort of getting the word out that way so that it's a little bit less of a lift for the college athlete to get started and start offering some training.
Yeah, what sort of training do you offer? I mean, what's day one look like for any athlete that wants to get into this?
Yeah, so day one is coming onto our website, creating a profile, leaving a little description of who you are, why you want to get involved with this program, and sort of the bread and butter is just offering a one-on-one private coaching session. So we've done a lot of baseball, so I'll use that as an example. If you're a college baseball player, say you're a pitcher, you go onto our website, you say you're available to do one-on-one pitching lessons for $50 an hour. You list the dates and times and a location that's convenient for you. And then we sort of go out and send that out to the coaches or people who have signed up for our website in the area who are looking for pitching. And we sort of, we do the matching. So that's sort of, like any marketplace, it's always sort of connecting buyers and sellers and hopefully, making it easier for both sides.
What's the onus on the athlete themselves in terms of securing location and going all the kind of like the back end aspects?
Yeah, so we've helped with fields and locations. We've also had athletes who have sort of been able to figure it out themselves or have a place they prefer. So it sort of depends. We have a team that helps onboard the athletes and answers those types of questions. But generally speaking, we just try to make it in a place that's convenient for the college athlete. So, if you're a college athlete in Knoxville, Tennessee, and you have a local baseball field that's right around the road from campus, like that's the place you can offer lessons. And then, if parents want to drive an hour or half an hour or 20 minutes, like, that's up to them.
Obviously, there's the hometown hero aspect of this, right? So the high school athlete graduates, goes on to college, and is still kind of recognized in their own town. How do they market themselves to the population?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's a really good point. So in the case where you're back in your hometown, that's when the social media we've seen can be really effective. So, you were the star on the soccer team and, all the players in town followed you on Instagram and Twitter, and you can put it up on your social media. When you move to college town, it's a little bit different. If you're a star in the team, you get some followers pretty quickly. If not, it can take some time. So that's when we've helped out more on the marketing side and sort of building those relationships in the community. So it's not so hard for the college athletes to get started.
Obviously, basketball, being a quarterback, baseball pitcher, those probably seem pretty obvious. Are there any areas of need right now? Do you feel that there is community that wants some private lesson that doesn't exist?
Yeah, we've seen a tremendous need and opportunity on the women's sports side. So softball specifically, there's just not as many adults who continue, especially females, who stick with softball and are offering private lessons. If they are, they're usually very expensive and, hard to get on their schedule. So we see by turning, these college softball players into coaches that there's, definitely an unmet need that we're sort of meeting in the market and, in turn provide a lot of opportunity for women's athletes who, to what you alluded to, typically aren't seeing as much NIL money from the sort of the standard sponsorship methods.
And obviously we're talking about one-on-one or maybe small groups, but have you seen it grow into anything larger than that?
We have, yes. And we've had athletes wanting to push the envelope who can lead a group of 5, 10, 15, offer clinics and even, small camps. Sometimes they do, even a bigger event teaming up with some of the teammates on their team and are hosting, 30, 40 kids. And it just depends on the area and it depends on what the college athlete wants to do. Some of them feel very comfortable working one-on-one or small group, and some of them are really looking to maximize what they can do and the amount of athletes they can impact by offering, a larger event like a camper clinic.
Do you feel like for what you provide at Vantage Sports that it's somewhat of an untapped resource in the NIL world?
I do think we're taking a pretty unique approach to NIL. And I think that most people are not thinking, let's connect the college athletes to the community. They're thinking, let's connect them to the community, businesses maybe, but not to the actual, youth athletes in the community who sort of look up to them. So I think for a lot of athletes, it's something that's a little bit more straightforward to get started with. Doesn't necessarily require a lot of social media, presence or skill, and can be a really good way to get involved and make some money fairly quickly and pretty simply.
Are there any athletes in particular that you've worked with that you've seen great success with?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's been a lot who have done really well. I think one of the players who's done really well is Brianna. She is a softball player at University of South Carolina, and she really was, a hit in Columbia and the greater area. She's offering lessons, offering clinics, and really her training sort of just spread like wildfire amongst the different teams. And she's had a ton of organic sort of people finding out about it and telling their friends. So she had, she was, I think, a freshman at the time when she started and just never had really coached before, but, gave it a shot and was, very naturally talented at it. So that's just sort of one example that comes to mind of athletes who've had a lot of success with it.
One thing, Patrick, that you and your company stress is testimonials. How important is it for the athletes to gather testimonials? Because I think word of mouth might be as important as anything in the marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the places where we really try to use the website to add value. And we're always trying to get parents to take the 2 minutes to fill out the testimonial. So we do tell the athletes as well to sort of encourage their customers to, to take the 2 minutes, go onto our website and leave a review. And we think, that's helped our athletes who have done well do even better.
So Patrick, what do you say to college athletes who aren't involved, and how do you get them involved?
Yeah, I would say, if you're interested at all, and even if you've never coached before, I think it's worth giving it a shot. You can log onto our website and sign up, shoot us an email. And, we've had a lot of college athletes who don't have experience in coaching, sort of leverage the resources we have to figure it out and get involved in the community. And, they've turned out to be really successful. So I would just encourage them to, give it a shot and see what happens.
Patrick, where can we find you and where can we find Vantage Sports?
Yeah, so you can go onto our website, www.vantagesports.com, or check us out on Instagram. It's Vantage Sports, and the word sports is just missing the O and the R. So,
Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
We'll see you soon.
No, thanks for having me, Kevin.